Hi, everybody. Welcome to the June 18th, 2026 meeting of the Northampton City Council. I'm Vice President Debbie Clemmer, and I will be presiding this evening. Council President Maori will join us later this evening. Laura, roll call, please, to open the meeting.
Councillor Davis.
Present.
Councillor Dobbs.
Here.
Councillor Clemmer.
Here.
Councillor Loisel.
Here.
As we said, Councillor Maori will join later. Councillor Nabad.
Present.
Councillor Perry.
Here.
Councillor Robbins.
Present.
And Councillor Stratton. Oh, that's not him. Okay, absent for roll call. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
There he is.
Oh, Councillor Stratton. Okay, we'll count you as present on roll call. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Laura. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. The meeting and all participating in person and on Zoom will be audio and video recorded. The meeting can also be watched on Comcast Channel 15 or by streaming on Northampton Open Media YouTube channel. We have a public hearing. Announcement, a public hearing on 26.044, National Grid petition to install SO pole on Corticelli Street to provide service to 140 Pine Street. Petition number 310-231-306. Per MGL Chapter 166, Section 22, the Northampton City Council will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, July 15, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. by remote participation or teleconference on 26.044 National Grid petition to install SO pole on Corticelli Street to provide service to 140 Pine Street. Instructions for accessing the hearing remotely may be found on the July 15, 2026 City Council agenda, posted to www.northamptonma.gov no later than 48 hours prior to the meeting. The City Council will hear all persons who wish to be heard. And then just a reminder that July 15th is our next meeting. And it will only be remote. We don't. It'll be our next full meeting of the council.
Oh.
That next week we're meeting, it's a little mini meeting. Our next full meeting is July 15th. We have a summer schedule. We have one meeting in July, one meeting in August. Everything's remote. But there'll be announcements about that coming up. Now we have public comment. And if you wish to make a public comment, please sign up on the sheet at the podium. If you're on Zoom, use the raise hand feature. The raise hand feature is in the bottom menu bar. Click on React, then raise hand. If you're calling in by phone, you can raise your hand by hitting *9. I'll alternate between people in the room and people on Zoom. Before you begin, please state your name and your city or town for the public record. And we welcome you to share your pronouns. To ensure everyone has an equal opportunity to speak, the council limits comments to a maximum of 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, I'll ask you to finish your sentence. Thank you, Laura. According to the council rules, we do not respond during public comment as it is your time to speak. Your protected speech is a constitutional right and one that we ask you to wield with consideration and respect for all, and with recognition that the public space that grants you that freedom is shared equally by everyone. You may speak on any topic. It doesn't need to be an item on the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the council. So in the room first, we have Lori Bellucci.
I'm waiting because the other person isn't here yet.
Okay, then we'll go to Annie.
Annie isn't here. She's the person I'm waiting.
Okay, we'll go to Jess.
Is that already on?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Jess Dawson, she, her, Ward 3, Northampton. I just wanted to speak in favor of the discussion today of the acquisition of the CPA funding for the bike path connector on Northern Avenue. I'm a resident of Ward 3, and I know that particular cut-through gets a lot of traffic all year round. It's very popular. And that neighborhood also does have a lot of older residents and people with mobility issues that probably aren't able to take advantage of it as it is right now. So I just wanted to say I think that would be a real benefit to the neighborhood. And I hope that in the plans, there will be some consideration of how that accessibility can be maintained through the winter months as well for residents. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dan Brindell. Dan, you can unmute. And you could start your video.
Okay. Hey, Dan Brindell, Ward 3, Northampton. I want to start by reiterating something that I actually began a public comment this term with, which is that the city and its elected and the government have a trust deficit. If you look through the results from the last election, we have a mayor who was clearly running on some very specific policies, came through paper-thin margin, maybe the lowest ever in the city. Almost every member of this council received more votes than the mayor. Many of you guys carried wards that the mayor actually lost. So we have a very divided city, and a lot of that is because of distrust. And I think a lot of that distrust comes from the way that we handle finances. We spend a lot on big projects or put aside a lot for big projects. And meanwhile, sort of everyday things like when you send your kid to school or where you're trying to get down the sidewalk, people in this city know firsthand the city's not spending enough on that. We're not getting the resources that we need. In certain cases, we're even breaking the law. And so when we go in knowing that we have that trust deficit, and then the mayor announces last week that you guys are going to ask for an override vote next year, they're going to ask us to vote to raise our own taxes. I think it is very clear that what we need you guys to do first is be much more upfront about where the money in the city goes. And this is apropos because the Finance Committee right now is having a bit of a controversy when it comes to hiring an auditor to go through the books. As Councillor Robbins revealed during this controversy, our current auditor, Scanlon, who's been our auditor for a very long time, didn't even know the term Picture Main Street. So when we talk about a project that we've already spent $4 million on, although that only came out this year, despite that being a constant question during the election, it looks like we're going to be on the hook for another 11 million minimum. The city is discovering new vaults, but we know that that's actually just basements of buildings. And I even knew that running for mayor last year, that this was going to be a major problem and a major cost. We've got a resilience hub where we've already spent $3 million on it, and yet
You
we
could
have money
wrap
coming
up
from the federal
with this
government,
sentence.
and it's being trapped inside of that project. We need you guys to do an upfront audit where you make very clear where the money is going,
Dan,
and where
that's
the money is being
time.
spent, and where the money is sitting. And until you can do that, you can't expect the public to vote to give you guys more of our money.
Okay, anybody else in the room like to speak? And there's nobody on Zoom. Lori, do you want to go, or, because we have to keep moving along.
For
What's that?
Annie. Can we wait a couple more minutes for Annie?
No, we need to keep moving. We have a big agenda tonight, and
Can I read her part then, which is very short? Can I be Annie?
yeah, I mean, I don't care who's you read. You have 2 minutes to talk, so feel free to read Annie's or yours.
2 minutes, but Annie would use half of that for
Okay,
what this is.
yeah, so go for it. All right, say your name and where you're from.
Yeah, Laura Belushi, Northampton, Ward 4. Northampton, this speck that we are on the global order, choose not to address the issue of L3 Harris. I and others stand here month after month mouthing the facts of our complicity, murder, and destruction that goes forth from this place that is on the global order. Why? Denial, privilege, avoidance, money, power, all of the above. But I think we're afraid. We're afraid to think, afraid even to deny the existence of our fears. I think we're afraid to cry. To cry is to give in to meaning. They say that all fear is the fear of death. And to cry is to admit that we are mortal. maybe we're afraid to cry. Where do the tears go, the ones we deny? If not released, where do they go? I'll tell you what I think. The tears collect and collect, stored in some vast unseen reservoir. But our denial, fueled by that demon fear, is so powerful that we spend useless energy leaning against that door. Unrecognized truths have a way of cracking even the thickest barricades. Don't we know that from life? And the dam bursts, and we drown in the darkened pool of our own deferred tears. Annie's not here.
That's time.
There's a very small part she was going to read.
Yeah, that's time, though. But, you know,
Can I
we've-
read what she, or do you
No,
want to wait for
that's
her?
time. That's time. 2 minutes per person, so it,
But can I be Annie?
no. You can't.
Okay.
do any-
All right. Well, can we wait?
No, we have to keep going.
Yes, I
You know
know.
what? You could send it to Laura though, City Council, and then she'll send it to
She
everybody.
may come in a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So point of order.
Yes.
I think the chair can extend the time if they choose to.
No. Okay, so I don't see anybody else on Zoom, and anyone else in the room? Last call. Okay, now we're going to move on to announcements from the councilors and the mayor. Oh, okay, she snuck in under the bell there. Okay, Maritha, hang on, let me get you unmuted and your video going. Okay, you can unmute yourself and and start your video, Maritha.
It says it won't let me.
It won't let you. Which one?
You can video because it says you disabled it.
Let's see. Try it now, please. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hi.
so it's your name and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Marisa Wallace, and I live in Sunderland, and I've been a paraprofessional at JFK Middle School. This is the ending of my 11th year. I wanted to address something that had come up a couple of meetings ago that was never satisfied to what I think is okay. The other week, a question was asked to the only person of color on the staff. And while Counselor Perrin and I don't agree on much, I have his back. Because I saw the look of how uncomfortable it was to be asked a question because he's a black man. What I would like to say is the person that raised that question needs to be censored and go to a department, learn about DEI. Because it's really important as counselors that we don't ask racist questions. It's not okay. The second thing that I want to say is that what you all did in that meeting, which was to laugh at a racist question, and many of you have those Black Lives Matter in your yards, please throw them away, because let me tell you, it is performative baloney burgers. It is performative, and I won't have it. It's not okay. It's not okay to ask a question of a black man because he's black. And I will inform you, I was the one who said Picture Main Street was racist. I will own that. Don't ask him because he hasn't talked to me. Councilwoman Abad, if you want to know why I think it's racist, I will certainly have that conversation with you. But don't pose a question that belongs to me, to someone who looks like me.
That's time. If you could wrap up.
My last sentence is, it's okay to have tension, but we have tension so we can deal with the racist crap. We need to do better.
Thank you. Annie, are you Annie? Oh, okay, you're up.
Yeah. I read already. Could I have just a second?
Does she want to talk or not?
Yes.
Okay. please get a,
I already went because there was no one else here. Could you just refer to that? Yeah, repeat the last line. That was my last line, I deferred to yours.
Annie, please just state your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Annie Bethel. I'm from Northampton. I live off of Prospect Street. I had some trouble getting here. Sorry about that. But I wanted to continue Laura's testimony because I'm fervently against L3 Harris and their presence in my community. I wanted to refer to Langston Hughes' poem Harlem from 1951. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? This is a tribute to the children, their families and friends massacred by L3 bombs in Gaza. Conservative estimates stand at 73,000, not counting the thousands buried under the rubble who have not been counted yet. So I just wanted to use my time to bring to light that I would like L3 out of NoHo. Thanks.
Thank you, Annie. Is there anybody else in the room or on Zoom who hasn't spoken? Okay, we'll move on then. Announcements from the counselors and mayor. Anybody have any? Councilor Nabad.
Yes, I just want to announce that the Tom Riccardi Raptors event on June 20th is canceled as a result of illness, and it will be rescheduled for a future date. Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, Councilor Perry.
I just want to announce that there is a lovely event happening this weekend at 33 Hawley. It's Kid a Mule, 40 Acres, and so there's a screening of that movie, as well as some discussions. A former chair of the Reparations Committee, Usman Power Green, will be there discussing, and a couple of amazing MCs as well, and they're recording a podcast. So that is, I believe, from 4 to 6 p.m. at 33 Hawley. So go out and enjoy that. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what day is that?
It's Saturday, mic's off, Saturday, June 20th. Yeah.
Councilor Dubs.
Thanks. Just wanted to mention that July is Disability Pride Month, and the Disability Commission will be holding an event on July 16th, which is a Thursday, and it'll be at 10:30 a.m. at Forbes Library, and it's going to be basically like a story time, and we'll be like reading a couple children's books that are disability themed. So yeah, that's Thursday, 10:30 a.m. on July 16th.
Is July? Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought. Okay. Yeah, sounds like a great event. And thanks for letting us know it's Disability Month. You said July's Disability.
July's Disability Pride Month. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is Pride Month. Anybody else have an announcement? Mayor?
Good evening, councilors. 3 events I want to make sure you know about and the community knows about. First is the Florence Community Band's 25th anniversary. They're having a concert this Sunday, so it's June 21st at 3 p.m. I think it goes from 3 to 4 p.m. at Look Park in the Pines Theater. And there'll be about 30 minutes of playing with a break in between, and then 30 minutes more of playing. So please come and celebrate their 25th anniversary. The July 4th naturalization ceremony will happen on July 4th. This is the 18th annual naturalization ceremony that the Center for New Americans has put on for 18 years. And it's if you've never been, it is one of the most remarkable, wonderful, beautiful ceremonies you can go to in the city. It's at 11 a.m. outside at the Hampshire County Courthouse, weather permitting. And then last, I'd like to invite all to a community reading of the Declaration of Independence. This is part of a coordinated national initiative for a simultaneous reading across the country of the Declaration, and for a few moments of needed reflection on this 250th anniversary. So that will be Wednesday, July 8th at 6 p.m. and right here at Memorial Hall in the front outside. So I hope people can join for that. Thanks.
Anybody else have anything? Nope. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda now. There's no debate or discussion by any city council member regarding any items on the consent agenda beyond asking questions for simple clarification. And Rule 4.4.5, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any city council member prior to the taking of a vote on the motion to approve it. Any such items will be considered individually in the order in which they were removed immediately following consideration to the consent agenda. So I'm going to read all the items, and then I'll ask for removals. First one is 26.082, appointment of Daniel Nye as the Veteran Service Director for referral to city services. The next one is 26.072, in order to appropriate $145,583 in CPA funds to Forbes Library for Coolidge Museum lighting. This is a second reading. 26.073, in order to appropriate $253,660 in CPA funds to Historic Northampton for Parsons House restoration. That's a second reading. 26.074 is an order to appropriate $202,000 in CPA funds to design accessible rail trail entrance at Northern Avenue, also second reading. 26.075 is in order to appropriate $330,111 in CPA funds for a Nashawanic Brook restoration project, second reading. 26.075 is in order to appropriate $7,625 in CPA funds for Lilly Library stair rail repair project. That's a second reading. Next is 26.087, petition for secondhand dealer license for Urban Exchange. And then 26.094, reappointments to various committees for referral to city services. The Central Business Architecture Committee, Melissa Fridio, and that's a reappointment. Conservation Commission, Elizabeth Spriggs, it's a reappointment. Energy and Sustainability is Eric Winkler, reappointment. Historical Commission, Michael Curtin, reappointment. Human Rights Commission, Jamila Gore, reappointment. Urban Forestry Commission is Richard Parrish, a reappointment. And Zoning Board of Appeals is Sherry Taylor, also a reappointment. And that's it. So is there anything anybody would like to remove from the consent agenda? Council Stratton.
Item B, 26072, item D, 26074, item E, 26075.
Okay, so 72, 74, and 75, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Wasn't the intention to remove all of the CPA orders since Sarah LaValle wasn't here to speak?
She is here, though.
Well, I know, but in order to speak to them, they all have to be removed. There's 5.
I don't think she has to speak to all of them because it's second reading.
Okay.
Right. We talked about them at the last meeting. I mean, she could talk about the ones you took out, but.
I mean, we didn't really discuss these at all at the last meeting.
So
We just
do you
moved
wanna
them to the
pull out all of them then?
consent
Because,
agenda because she wasn't here. I removed the ones I particularly want to talk about.
Okay,
I would have
well-
no,
It's second reading, and then normally in the second reading, we just vote on it. If we want to discuss it, you could pull it out. If not, Sarah LaValle's here to talk about the ones you did pull out. Anybody else want to remove anything from the consent agenda?
I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
So, motion made by Councilor Perry and seconded, was that you, Louise? Gwen? Councilor Nabad seconded it. Roll call, please.
Okay. Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
Yes.
And Counselor Stratton.
yes.
Okay, so we'll go to 26.072, in order to appropriate $143,583 in CPA funds to Forbes Library for Coolidge Museum lighting, second reading. So do you want to speak, do you have questions for Director Sarah LaValle, or?
I don't particularly have questions. I would certainly welcome her to present on this or any of the others that she might wish to.
Is she here? I don't see her now.
I mean, my removal was for purpose of comment, not question.
I don't see Sarah. Could you?
Saw her a moment ago.
Yeah.
Now I've lost her.
I mean, it sounds like there isn't necessarily a question.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. What's your comment? And maybe Sarah can answer it or respond to it.
Well, this is more of a policy position. You know, the Community Preservation Act is a very interesting state law. It was adopted by a vote of the people of Northampton many years ago. It's done a lot of good. I mean, later tonight, we're going to hear about one of my favorites, which is the Mineral Hills expansion. And, you know, I think everyone finds some projects in there they like, and also some projects in there they're a little uncertain about. It creates a special stream of money that can only be used for four purposes: open space, historic preservation, affordable housing, and sort of as the stepchild of open space recreation. And projects that use that money are often portrayed as only in competition with each other and not with other more basic needs of the city. But as I spoke about several meetings ago, projects that could be funded either way, like repairing the roof of historic City Hall, show that actually all city expenditures are in competition with each other. Because if we use unrestricted money on City Hall, we can't use it on something else. Whereas if we use, say, some historic preservation money on City Hall, then we would have freed up unrestricted money we could use somewhere else. So the decisions that we make on these items tonight really impact all of city finances. Everything is ultimately connected, and everything is a strategy trade-off. Now, I had someone write to me and say, oh, if we don't use this money, it's lost. That's not true. CPA money that's not appropriated rolls over to next year. There are some minimums for categories. I think we've already met those for the year, but in that case, the money just goes into a category reserved account. So this is a strategic, decision, just like any other appropriation we make. As to this specific item, this is a preservation of artifacts in a museum. Yes, Calvin Coolidge, served in Northampton, not in this room because it didn't exist, but before he was president. And yes, this is the last library, not presidential library, not to get federal funding. But I really have not heard anything that explains why this expenditure of preserving artifacts is really a civic priority, why this compares, more importantly than any of the other things we need to do that we've not funded this year, that by moving flexible money, between City Hall roof or next year Academy of Music, why it should be this, why spending this money, public money, as opposed to having them do this with private philanthropy is a priority. So this will be a no for me.
Okay, would you like Sarah to respond, or do you have anything to say, Sarah or Mayor, or sound like a statement? You didn't ask a question, so.
I didn't hear a question.
Okay, Councilor Loisel.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I spoke with the chair of the Community Preservation Committee, and I have a great deal of respect for the work they do. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 people. So a couple of them are elected, some of them are appointed, one of them, I guess, is staff. They're from the Historical Commission, the Conservation Commission, Recreation Commission, and Planning Board. And I think they bring to the table discernment about the projects, and they have a really good process. They take applications, they winnow through the applications, they have public hearings, they have the applicants come in and answer their questions, and Chair Adams said nobody spoke against any of the projects that they're putting forward. I think it's pretty cool that we have a presidential library in our city, and I think it's a great, it's historic preservation is what it is, and all of these things fall into the category. They're all eligible. And I feel like I have no interest in micromanaging this very hardworking board. So I really thank them for their work, so that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Councilor Robbins.
So I actually hadn't really thought deeply about this, but I am curious, and it would be a question that I personally would take back to the CPA board, and I too think they do a wonderful job. Their process is just phenomenal. The dialogue, what they go in there, but I wonder if there's anyone on the board who does ask how something they're funding, is it possible to have that come from another city fund? So yes, absolutely, money needs to go to Memorial Hall, it needs to go to roofs, it needs to preserve historical architecture, but I'm not sure part of the dialogue they have has any input on whether or not there are other sources of funds to do that. And I don't know what the answer is, so I'm just sort of putting it out there. It's a question I personally will ask, but I do hear Councillor Stratton's point.
Yeah, so that's a good question, but it's not what's on the agenda right now. We're voting on the Coolidge Museum lighting, so I have something to say about it too, and I'll come back to you. It was at one of our meetings here that the people from the library came, and they did speak about how fragile the fabric is, and how we lost some items because it wasn't stored properly or the lighting wasn't appropriate, and this stuff's been around for decades, and it disintegrated. So it's a shame to just let these artifacts go from someone who is president, and we have a presidential library here, and any other artifacts that will be preserved because we're able to have the proper lighting now and store it properly. So I think this is a really important thing to fund. Mayor.
I agree that this is not necessarily pertaining to the item that's on the agenda, but I will say that having been a part of this and watched the CPC do their work for years, they have pretty in-depth discussions and ask about different funding sources, and have at times not funded things or not funded things to the amount that were requested because they've said, no, we think there should be other funding sources for this. So that is definitely part of their conversation. And Sarah, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, I would add that the committee thinks hard and long about all of the funding decisions that they make, and they ask a lot of really tough questions of applicants, so much so that applicants have called after meetings and said, I'm worried, or is the committee mad at me? Is this okay? Is this something I should expect? And they all take their jobs really, really seriously, and really take a deep dive into how things are being funded, what other funding sources are possible. Taking a look at whether something can be funded through other means is something that's solidified within the community preservation plan. And there are a lot of applications presented that are a complicated picture of funding from many different sources: federal funds, state funds, local funds, other grants, donations, and some of them are really challenging to find other funding sources for, particularly at various stages. So a project that's just seeking design funds may be more challenging to find matching funds from other sources than a project that's ready to go. So Community Preservation Act funds are really important to be able to kickstart those types of projects. So yeah, I would definitely concur that the committee takes a deep dive into that. And I'd also add that the application process is competitive within each round and within the fiscal year. So applicants are submitting projects. So the committee isn't looking broadly at other types of projects that could potentially be funded. They're looking at what's been presented to them.
Thank you, Sarah. Councilor Stratton and then Councilor Loiseau. Oh, Councilor Perry.
Sorry, I still keep it old school, which kind of is my thing. As I went and changed the lighting, and I think that one thing that really moved me from some of the comments last meeting was just the amount of tourism and people who were brought in by the Coolidge Library of all ages. It's an educational thing. We live in a time where we're stuck in screens. We feel disconnected, and this is a space not only that gives the history, but they talked about last meeting how this is used as an event space. It hosts about 75 people. They had over 1,400 people attend events there. I see this as an integral part of extending our history, inviting people into our community, and showcasing something that is historical to us, but is unique also to us as well. And that's why I support it. I, as many people have said, I love all of the work that Forbes Library does, and all the people who are dedicated to kind of showcasing things. So this, for me, is a yes.
Thank you. Councilor Stratton.
Yes. So, as Sarah actually did just explain, the CPA committee looks at the applications which were brought. It does not generally tend to look at the things that were not brought. There is a little bit of future prediction, like I know when they were discussing the funding for the pump track last fall, there was some question, were they going to do it as a cash award or bonding? And they looked forward to when they were expecting the big housing project to come down the pipe, and they were told it wasn't going to happen this year, or something like that. So there's a little look ahead to things they're aware of, but generally they're only weighing what's been brought before them. Our job, in contrast, as the council, is to weigh all of this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
How do you look at things not brought before you? If it's not brought before you, I'm confused. Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, the CPA committee is, they view their job is to only look at the applications that are brought, rather than to look at everything the CPA could be used for. So I'm not criticizing the CPA committee. I'm saying that they take a fairly limited view of things. They see their role as only to look at the presented applications with a very little bit of anticipation of what might be coming, balancing fall and spring rounds and cash versus bonding and some things like that. There's some just limited discussion of that. But generally there isn't like, hey, nobody's brought us an outdoor recreation project in 2 years, what's going on kind of thing. In contrast, we, as the city council, our job is to weigh all of the city's needs and all of its funding sources. Now, normal appropriations, you or I, none of us can originate an appropriation. An appropriation comes to us recommended by the mayor, and then the charter requires that we also vote on it. In this case, the CPA committee is kind of playing the role that the mayor plays. Instead of, a recommendation from the mayor, it comes to us as a recommendation from the CPA committee. And the state law similarly requires we vote on it. So, it's not just their job, it's a shared job. It's a two-stage process. It happens all over American government.
I have a point of information.
Yes.
Councilor Abad, point of information. Go ahead.
Point of information. My understanding is the Community Preservation Act is a state act.
Yes.
So it's not up to us to tell the CPC what to do or how to do it or to
Indeed.
Create projections or whatever.
I'm not criticizing the CPC.
There is already a requirement, 10, 10, 10, 10. So a percentage is specifically allocated for historical preservation, specifically allocated for housing. And so I guess I don't really understand why this is an issue per se, because as long as it's within the 10% or within the requirement, and also this is a state act, I'm confused.
That was large for a point of information, but I'd be happy to answer.
Well, I don't comment on people's
I'm
questions,
addressing
but
the mayor
also
maybe,
we're
or
kind
whoever
of
can
getting
answer
off
that.
topic.
I did have the floor.
Hold on. This was about the CPA funds going
Have
to
you
Forbes
taken the floor back
Library.
from me?
I'm just trying to rein it in here a little bit. We're talking about the Forbes Library, Coolidge Museum lighting, not pump tracks and everything. So if you have comments, about why you pulled this and what you think about it, go ahead. But you're kind of getting off,
Okay, if I may continue and respond to what was just said.
On the topic, though, about the Forbes Library project.
Okay. Yes. I would say that our job as the city is to weigh, our job is the city council, which is distinct from the job of the CPC. The CPC's job is more narrow. Our job is broad. Our job is to weigh everything. My colleague is correct that 10% by state law has to either be appropriated or set aside in a specific account for each of these uses. I think that was already satisfied for this fiscal year in the fall round. I do not consider this particular expenditure to be a strategic use of the public's tax money, so I will be voting against it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councilor Zoll.
Yeah, just forgot to say that. Well, first of all, it's too bad last time at our meeting there were a lot of people who spoke, and I think the majority of the people who spoke on behalf of the projects, it was about the Calvin Coolidge Museum. They're not here this time, but I did run into somebody at the recycling center this week where I run into all the people, and she was very excited about it and, asked, just said, I hope if I need to come back to another meeting, please let me know. But what I wanted to say is that the other thing I forgot to say about this project is that it's not just that it's going to have better lighting, architectural lighting. It's going to make it more accessible to the public because of the better lighting. So people will be able to come and use the library and use the museum and look at the museum. And I know that it is, we can't tell the CPA committee to take on a project. We can deny it, but we can't, it's like similar to our budget. We can't add to it, but we can deny it. But I don't see any reason to deny this.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to approve.
Second. Councilor Perry.
And I'll second it.
Councilor Perry made the motion, and Councilor Davis seconded it. Roll call, please, Laura.
Councillor Dubbs.
Yes.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Councillor Maori, not present. Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
No.
And Councillor Davis, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So
7-1.
7-1 approved. So, Councilor Stratton, since you pulled these other two items off, is it the same reason, or do you have specific things for each of them that you think to talk to? And
They're similar and but specific, but I will stick to what's new.
so we'll go to 26.074, in order to appropriate $202,000 CPA funds to design accessible rail trail entrance on Northern Avenue. So about that topic, feel free to comment.
Yes, I mean, if you go there, there's a very short distance between the end of the road and the rail trail, and it's a very steep ditch, and I tried to bike through it, and I couldn't. If we were actually building a bridge across that, I might be in favor of this. But this is not building a bridge. This is putting 202,000, or at one point it was 212, I think it's 202, into a design study for it. And one of the things that this highlights is when you have special purpose money like this, you get interests, including design firms, that are very, very skilled at writing things to soak up that money. There's also a proposal that this might involve a state grant, which actually would reduce some of the local expenditure. I don't know if that's still alive, but the comment when this was introduced to Bike Ped was, oh, this design firm is very good at winning these grants. And I was like, yes, I bet they are. They are very adept at soaking up public money. We have no idea what actually building this bridge would cost to achieve the benefit. If we did build the bridge, if you look at a map, then yes, it makes the trip from Northern Avenue to the rail trail really short. But if you want to actually go anywhere via the rail trail, by the time you get to like McDonald's or something, you've barely actually saved any distance going via the rail trail versus going on the sidewalk of Northern Avenue. Okay. And anywhere across the river, you've basically not saved anything. You're just on the rail trail versus the sidewalk. Hey, if we could build the bridge for $212,000, I'd be in for this. But it's a design study.
Sarah Valley has some information that might help.
In a minute, I will yield the floor in just a minute. And it seems to me like the real beneficiaries here are the design firm and also the developer of the View Avenue project, who wrote a letter of support in favor of this. If the bridge does happen, then he can sell his units as trailside. And so, I think if he wants the bridge, he should be donating money for it.
Okay, thank you. Do you mind if we let Sarah talk next? Because I think she has some information that would help us all. Sarah?
Sure. So just to clarify what the expenditures necessary in the design are. So because this is a DCR-owned trail, the connection would need to meet DCR standards. It will also meet ADA and engineering standards to make sure that it's safe and accessible. It will include geotechnical borings and engineering, environmental permitting, survey and construction-ready plans. And if the Mass Trails grant is received, which we're really optimistic about because we have heard positive things from DCR about this connection, then only $45,000 will be required in CPA funding as a local match, and the rest of the funds would be returned to the CPA pot.
That's great. Councilor Loisel.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to this. It's my ward. It's right in my backyard, basically. And I happen to have been on the street, and I use that very bumpy path a lot to get on the bike path. And it's easy for me to do it as an able-bodied person, but anybody who uses a wheelchair cannot do it. And Northern has a bunch of new condos that are ADA accessible. So there's one person I know who lives and uses a wheelchair and uses prosthetics and cannot access the bike path, and this will help her access the bike path. And there's other people in wheelchairs on that same street. So I feel like I'm all for this. I really hope it happens. And so it's a yes for me.
Thank you. I have a question. So people have said, why do we need all the design project? The designers can come in, can't we just build a bridge? So, and you said there's a specific, we can't just do that. We need to go through the process to be able to use the trail and hook it up.
Yeah, this has to be engineered to DCR and ADA standards. It's not as simple as just throwing in a bog bridge in conservation areas, which we do all the time with help of community partners. This is something that's higher level, requires geotechnical borings to see what's under the surface to make sure the bridge will be supported, and additional design work.
And then to have access to the trail, though, we would have to have a design and go through the proper channels.
Correct.
The engineering channels to build it, or they won't let us hook up to the trail. Okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions? Councilor Nabat?
I was just curious to know if it would be, if there was something done here, and it wasn't done by engineers, if it wasn't done in a design way that is ADA compliant, would it be a liability if we just threw something up willy-nilly and did that?
Yeah, and potentially it definitely could be. There are informal connections to the multi-use trails all around the city, but those aren't anything that were sanctioned by the city or were done with community involvement. If an official connection were to be made and were to be blessed by DCR, that would absolutely need to be approved by DCR, and they would need to be involved in the design process.
Anybody else? Oh, Councilor Davis.
On there. Sorry. I very briefly just want to say that we heard in public comment, it was just one person, but who acknowledged that this is a busy area. It's densely populated over there. And I, for one, am, while I love the idea of the $45,000 price tag possibility if we get this other grant from Mass Trails, is that what I heard? I, for one, am not averse to having experts that know way more than I do to design something so that more people can use this.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah, and just to reiterate one comment, if we don't go through a design firm and an engineer, we will not be able to hook this bridge up to the trail. So this is the only way forward. Councilor Stratton.
So, much as I wish it were, I'm not meaning to suggest that this could be something like where that Eagle Scout and Belchertown built a bridge in a conservation area for $4,000. I think we all recognize that. This is at least head high. You need to know what you're doing there. If we were talking about fixing the sidewalk of Northern Avenue, and maybe we need to be talking about that, if we need to be talking about it, we should be. We can't do that directly with CPA money, but again, every decision is a trade-off. My question would be for Sarah, what is the current estimate of what actually building the bridge itself is going to cost?
That I don't have available. So I'm here representing the votes of the Community Preservation Committee. But I don't believe that we have an estimate of fully what the design would cost. It would depend on the preferred alternative once they do the geotechnical investigation and the engineering.
Mayor?
Again, off topic, but Northern Avenue was paved and the sidewalk was reconstructed last year.
Thank you. Councilor Perry.
Yeah, it's tough to ask people how much a bridge would cost when they haven't done the design work on it. I'm just going to say that. And I see the forward thinking here that this is the amount that we might need, but they're working on ways to take that down. That, for me, is a good step in the right direction. And I'm actually a little disturbed that a single person would tell other people that they could just suck it up and go a little bit out of their way to access this thing. It feels more about one person's experience and less about the greater community's experience. So that's maybe I'm interpreting what you said wrong, and you can clarify how you feel about it, but it feels to me that it is not taking the greater community and people with disabilities, as Councillor Loisel said. So that for me is bothersome.
I'd like to move we approve.
Hold on.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was just going to move that we approve.
Very, very quickly.
Yes, so it shortens getting to the rail trail, but if you're trying to go anywhere, it basically just means you're going there on the rail trail rather than an only slightly larger distance on the sidewalk.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Lois?
I'd like to move to approve this.
Is there a
We already-
second?
yeah.
Second. All right, so Councilor Loisel made the motion to approve, and then Councilor Nabad seconded. Roll
Wasn't
call.
Councilor Nabad the motion maker? Did I just?
No, Loisel motion.
Wow.
Nabad
Okay, sorry.
seconded. I know they're all yellow here. You can't really.
My
They're just
goodness.
blending into
All
each
right.
other.
Okay, got it.
Roll call, please, Laura.
Okay. Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Councilor Stratton.
No.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
And Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Okay, so that passed 7-1, 7 in favor. So the next one's 26.075, in order to appropriate $111 in CPA funds for the Nashawanic Brook Restoration Project. So let's see if maybe Sarah can talk about it first this time and clarify the project, and then we can ask questions, if that's okay with you, Sarah.
Sure. I just want my presentation. So the Nashawanic Brook Restoration is a exciting project that's being done by the Office of Planning and Sustainability, the Conservation Commission, in cooperation with the Division of Ecological Restoration and Mass Audubon. This is the first golf course restoration in Massachusetts. It seems hard to believe that, but lots of golf courses have closed. They're not being utilized at the same rate by the same number of golfers that they had been, and they're no longer financially profitable. So they're being converted to other uses, but this is the first one that's fully being restored. So the long-term goals for the site, and here's an aerial shortly after it closed, are to improve stream and wetland habitat, reconnect the stream with its floodplain. It's been channelized and sent downstream quickly ever since it was a golf course, so it no longer has the ability to flood. Restore stream connectivity, increase flood storage, sequester carbon, provide passive recreation, and connect with existing conservation lands. And this is just a really fast overview of a really big project, and I'm happy to go into more of any of these aspects if you want. But the big picture is dam removal. So there's a dam that was being used for irrigation purposes. That's no longer necessary. That will be removed. Channel restoration. So taking all of the riprap and stone out of that channel, reconnecting it with its floodplain. Forested wetland enhancement. All of these fairways had been cut and maintained for all this time, and that's a big deviation of what this site used to look like many years ago. So planting those, planting trees in the riparian corridor and in uplands, increasing pollinator habitat, creating an enhanced trail network, including an accessible loop trail. And this isn't just a boardwalk trail. This is a trail like the one in Hadley that's federally owned. We're hoping that this would really be a regional destination. Educational signage, and the CPA funding is intended as a match for the Municipal Vulnerability Program grant that's been applied for. They require a 10% match, so that's a much larger state application. So work that's going underway now, the work has already started with help through the Division of Ecological Restoration Program. Removal of the failed undersized culvert at Old Wilson Road. So this culvert failed last year. It broke in several places, inundated the roadway became unstable, needed to be dealt with. So we worked with the Office of Planning and Sustainability, worked with DPW to come up with a solution that met restoration goals and also would save maintenance costs long term. In turn, terminating the vehicle roadway, installing a pedestrian bridge, creating a parking lot and turnaround. Again, removal of stream channelization and arboring, we're working on that now, and tree planting. And here's two examples of what the stream used to look like. Here's a bunch of riprap on the side and some stone. And there was much, much more stone and riprap there than anyone ever imagined, like many, many, many tons, many truckloads, and that will need to be dealt with in the second phase. Part of that will be funded through CPA. And this picture on the left shows the terminus of the restored channel. So this is just in the beginning phases of restoration. All of that stone, all of that unnatural, man-made, man-placed material is gone, but you can see where it begins. And there's several feet of riprap and stone. And you can also see where the outlet from the impoundment is. Clearly that's not something that fish or other wildlife would be able to deal with. And that's it for that
Okay,
one.
thank you. Councilor Loiseau.
Just have a question for you. Thank you for that presentation. The order says that this project has gained significant widespread support in partnerships. Can you say a little bit about those partnerships?
Definitely. So Mass Audubon was the city's first partner on this site. Mass Audubon was particularly interested in permanently conserving this land and in its restoration. Arcadia was experiencing a lot of just sort of strange flooding events. You know, it's a really small watershed. Nashawana Brook flows after it leaves the golf course property under Route 10, under the bike path at a location of another failed culvert. And then enters Arcadia, and where it's really flashy, more flood prone and erosive than you would ever think that such a small stream could be. The regional ecologist Tom Watzenheiser was trying to investigate what might be going on, was looking at maps, like, you know, everything upstream is pretty green. This doesn't make sense. But a golf course, although it is green, is really functioning the same as a big parking lot, because it's not fun to golf in swampy, wet conditions that you don't want to lose your ball, you don't want to get your feet wet. Golf courses are designed to take all of the water that falls and get it off the site absolutely as fast as possible through drainage mechanisms, through channelization like we've seen, and just making that water go away. But that has widespread negative events downstream. So Mass Audubon was a partner. The state's Division of Ecological Restoration is a partner. And we're also working with other organizations that are also looking into their own golf course restorations region-wide.
Just one more question. It also says in the order that these CPA funds will provide a required 10% match. And Chair Adams explained to me that sometimes the CPA money is used to leverage other, even larger pots of money. Is that what's happening here?
Correct. So that the state MVP program requires the 10% match. If a community of Northampton size is not able to provide a 10% match, the grant will not be received and it won't be successful. So that small 10% match, if this grant is successful, and we're really optimistic that it would leverage a lot more in state funding.
Okay, anyone else? Councilor Stratton.
Well, first of all, you know, I'm very glad we bought this property. Taking it into public ownership was smart and strategic. I was there a couple times a number of years ago. Went there with my nephew. It was a lot of fun. Was there randomly just a month ago looking around. And I mean, this is already rewilding itself, and we are trying to push it in the direction it's already going faster than it's already going there. Cutting the culvert and pending building a stream crossing there to reconnect the road, bike, ped, wheelchair. That's already funded and in progress. This is a really grand project. I mean, it is $3.8 million, I believe. If you walk inside the front door of City Hall, the design study's been behind glass there for a substantial period of time. I don't know if it's still there. People are going to win awards for this project, but it's not really clear if there's that much public benefit in pushing nature where nature's already going faster than it's already going there. I'm also very troubled that the chair of the CPA Commission is a direct abutter to this property. And normally, a project to that scale would be disqualifying because it's basically inescapable that it impacts adjacent property values. Now, he mentioned this, he spoke with Attorney Seawald, he said that he was able to participate in this, but I'm very troubled by that.
Okay, Councilor Navad.
Yes, I just want to confirm this with Sarah, but I don't know how many people watching this remember the floods of 2023. How many people farm on the land downstream from from this location. How many people, that are growing their own food at, community gardens along the river. But I do know, as someone who has been very concerned about the health of our rivers that have been deteriorating more and more over the last 55 years, that actually this good work can have a positive influence on our food system. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about the impact of the river and the health of the river on our food system, if you could.
Sure. So National Monarch Brook doesn't have any farmland directly downstream, but it is part of the broader Connecticut River watershed. So as a project that's one of its main functions is to increase flood resilience by retaining more flood water on the site where it makes sense to do that. It's reducing flood risk, albeit incrementally, at downstream properties. If this project had farmland downstream, I think absolutely it would be reducing flood risk there.
Councilor Davis, were you done, Councilor Nabat? Yeah. Councilor Davis.
I'm struck by Councilor Stratton's comment, and I wanted to know, Sarah, if that's true. Like, I hadn't even thought about if we didn't do this, if this project didn't happen, is the golf course rewilding anyway, and we're just speeding it up? Because if that's true, that's something to take into account. And or if is it the way that you described, the description that I even wrote down about the golf courses, which I know I've literally never I've never played golf, and I do not even know the difference between any of those clubs. I know nothing about golf courses, but the way that you described it, that they're designed to be like a parking lot and get that water off, that doesn't sound like a place that's easily going to rewild. But is that something to take into account? Would this just happen naturally anyway if we left it for X amount of years?
Sure, I can speak to that. So through our partnership with the Division of Ecological Restoration, that's something that we thought a lot about. And the design that the city landed on and the DER through Fish and Wildlife landed on was one that's a really light touch. We're not bringing anything into the site except for plants. We're not taking any materials off the site. All of the excavated material we're planning to use elsewhere on site. Aspects of the site would eventually rewild themselves to a point, but there are a lot of aspects that would never happen without human intervention. A lot of human intervention was necessary to make these changes, and a lot of human intervention is necessary to reverse them. Nature would never be able to take out the many thousands of tons of material that were deposited there. Nature wouldn't be able to reconnect the stream with its floodplain because of the level of intervention that had happened to change it. So some things would be able to happen over time. Many things never would. But although this is an expensive project, and I don't think the CPC or the designers are really excited about the cost of it, but a lot of value engineering went into it to lower the cost. If you look at the dam removal cost, for example, that's much lower than it would be for a typical dam removal. But the things that are proposed are really focusing on undoing that really intensive work that went into the course and focusing on things that wouldn't be able to happen without our help.
Mayor.
I just want to make sure it's clear that the chair, Brian Adams, filed the proper disclosure form that he needed to as an abutter.
Thank you. And Attorney Seawald, he spoke to Attorney Seawald as well. So, and Councilor Robbins.
Thank you, Sarah. That was such a good description. And as a spouse of someone who dearly loved playing golf on that course, I've walked around it a lot, and I've walked on it a lot since it's ceased being a golf course, and I don't see any more three-eyed frogs. But I think what you're saying is that we're really removing human intervention in a beautiful area that was meadow and it was tree, and it did have a good floodplain. And I know that in a golf course, it's many, many years of destroying all of that in order to make it a golf course. So I wish it were cheaper. I wish we could, make it a less onerous expense and effort and all that. But I, for one, really appreciate the effort, even though my spouse doesn't.
Councilor Nabad.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 26075 in order to appropriate $330,111 in CBA funds for Nashawanack Brook Restoration Project.
Motion to approve from Councilor Nabad. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilor Perry seconded it. Roll call, please, Laura.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I was just going to say, I'm in support of it. I know that it's a huge project. I also have visited the space. One of the things I love about Northampton is all these kind of like hidden gems, and it was interesting to walk along a space that used to be kind of altered by man. And for me, one thing that I want to speak about is that it's hard to see the impact on the community when the project isn't done. When I do this work, I think about the future often, and I don't have a crystal ball to know how many people would utilize the space, but I do know that people in our community will utilize the space and do utilize the space, and it's important to keep that in sort of my decision-making, so that's why I'm voting yes for it.
thank you. Roll call, please.
Okay. Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
No.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Dobbs.
Yes.
And Councillor Clemmer.
Yes. Okay, so that passes 7-1. Next, we have the financial orders on first reading. And these financial orders will be introduced and discussed at full city council meeting and refer to either the consent agenda or future meetings of the finance committee for more public input, discussion, and recommendation. First is 26.089. It's an order to approve expenditure of $1,200 in Youth Commission gift funds. It's a first reading, but they're requesting that for a suspension of the rules to waive 2 readings. So
I'd move to suspend the rules.
motion made by Councilor Perry to
Second.
suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
I don't think so. What is it? Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, we did? So thank you for keeping an eye on things, though. So Councilor Perry and then Nabad, did you second it? Okay, so motion made to suspend the rules by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Nabad. Roll call, please.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
No.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
And Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Okay, so it passed 7-1 again. Any questions, discussion?
I was
Mayor?
going to present it if it's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, and we also have Amelia Durbin here, who's the just graduated chair, so just former chair of the Youth Commission as well. First, I want to give huge thanks to the Youth Commission, to the Reparations Study Commission, Councilor Perry. I was very happy to volunteer with members of the Human Rights Commission, the Arts Council, the city's economic development team, the business sponsors of this event, Positively Africana by Amy, Provisions, Valley Creates, and all of the volunteers and musicians and everyone who participated in the first annual Juneteenth Festival. It was truly a fantastic event. So it was amazing what you all put together, and it was a joy to see it and be a part of it. So thank you to everyone. And huge thanks to the Youth Commission, who is, as a sponsor of this, want this expenditure from their gift fund. to support the festival. So that's all that, I mean, happy to take questions. And then Amelia, I don't know if there's anything that you want to add. Is there any questions? And yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Councilor Perry.
I don't have any questions. I do have statements because I completed this whole process. I was there from the start to the finish, and I may have mentioned before that one thing that was heartening to me was how this project was really spearheaded by our youth. They had approached me with an idea. It was something I had talked about in other meetings, and I was just thankful to be able to connect with our youth and then work hand in hand with the city, with Brian Foote and the arts department. And we took on a task that was not planned for this year. We decided that we were going to create the first annual Juneteenth celebration, and we did it in a way that I think was really inspiring. Again, nearly all of the people who were organizing the event were people of color. Every artist was a person of color, both on the stages and vending. We had just a great outpouring of folks, and in order to make it happen, we needed funding. And so the Youth Commission was able to help sponsor it. The Arts Department was able to move funding from other things. And so some and a lot of this money is going to pay for people who helped create a very impactful cultural event. That's why I think it's important to move this money forward so the people who actually helped our community can actually be paid for their work. And so I will vote yes for this wholeheartedly, and I look forward to helping plan the next Juneteenth celebration.
Councilor Robbins.
Amelia, thanks. And congratulations on your graduation. It was great seeing you walk across the stage. Thank you so much. Mayor, I was unaware that there is a Youth Commission gift fund, and I'm not sure where one would look for it, but I'm happy that it has $1,200 in it that could go towards something like that. Do you have a sense, you or Amelia, of what the balance is in it now?
Do you know?
I do. Yeah, so well before my time on the Youth Commission, we did a big fundraiser, and it raised about $2,000, a little bit under. And we never spent the money, so we wanted to do some projects this year. We spent some to go to Boston to do some advocacy at the State House. And then, the group voted to spend $1,200 to pay our sound technician, and our DJ, so for the music aspects of the event.
So is that a revolving fund or a separate fund?
So actually, that reminded me, just a couple months ago, this council actually voted funds from that fund for the trip. That we,
It's
so
like
it's a revolving
How much
fund.
is left in that now?
I just went through this, and I don't remember the exact number, but it's about 400.
And did I read in your notes that if you have a good fundraising session, you are going to dye the mayor's
hair? That is true. Yep. We'll come back, but can I talk about that now?
Oh, we do want to hear it.
Okay. Well, we're doing a fundraiser over the summer. If we raise $1,000, we'll dye Alan Wolf's hair. He's our advisor. It'll be rainbows, just so you know, semi-permanent rainbows. If we raise $2,000, we're going to dye former Council President Jim Nash's hair, which is white, so that'll be great.
Yeah.
And then $3,000 for the mayor's. $3,000 plus for the mayor's.
So do you wait, and then if you only dye the mayor, is it as progressive? Or?
Alan, you're not getting out of this one. I don't think.
I would sacrifice for you, but you're... Yeah, so donate, people.
Yes, we're putting.
So where do we donate to?
Well, we just put up a GoFundMe. We also have a Venmo in our Instagram bio. We have some videos about it too, and then you can also write a check to the City of Northampton specifying for the Youth Commission.
Would it be okay to send something to Laura that she can send out to all of us?
Yes,
a lot of
can do that for sure.
Newsletters that.
Yes.
Would that be? That's okay to say that here, right?
Awesome. Look at their faces.
This is way better than taping the principal to the wall, which is very popular in junior high school.
I've seen videos. Any other questions about Juneteenth?
I will move to approve this.
Thank you.
Is there a second? Thank you, Amelia, and congratulations. And so, motion made by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Davis. And roll call, please.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Stratton,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs,
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
Counselor Loisel,
Yes.
and Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
So that passed unanimously, 8 votes. The next is 26.090, in order to transfer $565,012 of free cash to cover snow and ice account deficit, and also the suspension of the rules to waive 2 readings is requested. This is just standard. This happens every year because, we go over budget because of the terrible snowstorms and ice storms we've had in the past year. So this comes up every year on our agenda. So is there a motion to suspend the rules?
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Councilor
Second.
Davis? Is it Nabad seconded it? Davis firsted it? Roll call, please.
Counselor Robbins,
No.
Counselor Stratton,
No.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs,
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
Counselor Loisel,
Yes.
Counselor Nabad,
Yes.
and Counselor Perry.
Yes.
So that passed 6-2.
Got 6.
6 positive, 2 noes, and
That's enough to suspend the
You need
rules.
6, right?
Yes.
Okay, so rules are suspended, are there any questions, Councilor
I'm happy to
Robert?
speak to it.
Oh, yeah, let's let the mayor speak first.
So, doesn't happen every year, almost, many years. but
Many
not
years.
every year. So according to MGL 4431D, this is the only line that cities and towns are allowed to legally deficit spend for snow and ice. And but we do have to then make that up. So if we were not to make it up before the end of the fiscal year, then the city auditor would have to report it to DLS, and we would have to cover it, and it would have to be reported in our tax recap, and we would have to cover it next year. And if we did not cover it with other funds, then we would be forced, in setting the tax rate during the tax recap, to cover it. And since we tax to the max and we don't have room in our levy, we would have to find another way. So there is, according to the law, there is a way where you could, in the tax setting, you could then build it in, but we don't have that capacity to do that. So it's going to get covered now, or it's going to get covered in a few months, but it has to get covered.
Thank you. Councilor Robbins?
Sorry, thanks for that. I did have a few questions about it. It says it's coming from free cash, but I thought our financial policy, says it should come from the general stabilization fund. So I guess I'm a little confused about that. It says, I think what I found was the general uses of that fund were to cover unforeseen operating budget deficits such as extraordinary snow and ice.
So, I mean, that's an example of a use for it, but it's not the only place it
Right,
can come
but why
from. So
wouldn't we-
generally, it's come from free cash if there's free cash available.
Why wouldn't we do what it says in our financial operating fund, though? So why wouldn't we go first to the general stabilization fund?
Well, again, that is just an example in the policy. Many times when we talk about uses of free cash, we actually use this as an example, as to make up snow or ice or other one-time expenditures.
Could we use it from the general stabilization fund? Is that an option?
We could. I mean, if we didn't do this, then we would have to use it from somewhere else, because in September, when we set the tax rate, or when we do the recap, because free cash would be frozen. But there's not an advantage to doing that.
Okay, so I had a couple more, which is also, I believe that the governor has just signed some emergency support for municipal snow and ice, costs that occurred during the year, which I think it's about $1 million. Do you think we'll be seeing any of that?
It's not clear yet if we will be.
And if we did, where would that money go?
It would flow into free cash.
It would come back into
Yeah, it
free
would
cash?
come back, yeah.
Okay, and then my third question is, I was on the understanding that this was one of those pieces that fell under the 3-year amortization plan. So it was one of those emergency pieces where you could break it into paying it off in 3 years, which I understand you wouldn't want to do if you knew you were going to have to spend it again next year. But if it is a deficit, that we wouldn't actually come under the penalties of not having paid it off this year.
Perhaps we could I can never say that word, amortize it over 3 years, but I don't see what the advantage of doing that would be. We will have to pay it, and you're right, we likely will have, depending on the winter next year. For the last few years, we've been over, in '24, we did not hit our budget amount, but other than that, we've been over every.
So I think that's why they have the amortization thing, is if you're over it, you can qualify for that. And I don't know what other municipalities do with that, but it is a way to be able to say, you can legally pay it off over time. And I just want us to be aware that that's an option. If we spend the money on this, how much money is left in free cash?
$698,666. And there is a recommendation, so to be clear, DLS recommends that some amount of free cash be carried over to the next year.
So if we're going to expect to spend money again that I don't see that we've budgeted for an enormous amount of money for snow and ice removal for next year.
It's always $500,000.
How is that not a recurring fund, recurring expense?
So we don't know what the amount will be. It's always changing. So it's considered a one-time expense.
That's an interesting rationale, but it's, we've talked about this before. We've taken out, snow and ice insurance ahead of coming into a deficit. Is that an option?
I don't know.
So Mayor Higgins did that frequently.
That was a very long time ago, and I've not heard of that being done in.
Could we look into it? Is that a possibility, so we don't come into a deficit again next year?
So this was a particularly bad winter, so this is a much larger deficit than it usually is. It's usually a fairly small deficit.
And my final question is, if we knew that we had this expense and we just approved the budget, is there a reason why this wasn't in it?
If we knew that, because this is how, so snow and ice, again, this is how communities handle snow and ice every year. So what do you mean, why would it be in the budget? Snow and ice is in the budget for next year.
But we had the runover from last year, and we're looking at this year and what our costs would be. I don't remember us having a conversation saying, hey, we're still going to be out over $500,000 for this.
Director Lascalia is here, and she can speak to it, but I'm not, I think it takes, she did mention it, actually.
She did mention that. I didn't know we were going to be taking it out of free cash. I'm just asking.
Well, it wouldn't have come out of the budget. We have a budgeted amount, which we spent, and this is what we spent over that budgeted amount. And this is, as I said, the one line that we legally can spend over, but we do then have to make it up elsewhere.
I just want us to be thinking forward about how we don't get in this position again next year.
Every community this happens in basically every community in the Commonwealth. It's why this is the line that they can overspend.
Right, yeah. Councilor Perry.
I think, and Director Lascalia can discuss this, but I think one of the things is we can't predict what the cost of salt is going to be, and the things, how much snow, that is why it is a variable. It is, so there is a set amount that is set aside, and then we have to figure out when the heavens open or whatever natural disasters occur, plus man-made expenses, is how we kind of get there. Maybe I'm wrong in how we get here, but I think that those two factors are what pushes things either up or down.
And so if your point is we should budget more for it annually, then we're just going to be creating more of a surplus.
I want us to be
thinking
about it creatively and to think about if we don't know what the winters are going to bring us. We had a bad winter the year before. I know Director Lascalia did a really good job of preloading us with salt and getting that payment done ahead of many other communities when we had that terrible ice storm. And that was really good forward thinking. We had it on hand. Unfortunately, we didn't have anything we could use to use the salt at that time. But this issue, it's a climate change issue, right? We can't actually predict a lot of it, but it does feel as though it would be a very good idea not to come at the end of the year when we do have a limited amount of money, not having thought about how we can embed this in a more productive way. So when we do the estimations, as Councillor Perry is discussing, we overestimate a lot of what we think it's going to cost. I'd like to see us think about that in, in the productive way of saying, let's overestimate what we're going to have to spend on snow and ice. And then if we get money back from the state, that's great. If we overestimate it, we have money that's coming back to us, but not to come into the pickle of saying we're going to owe over $500,000 at the end of the year.
So you want us to overestimate the one line that we can overspend?
I'm
Legally
saying we should have more of a discussion about it than having it appear as an appropriation order
Point of
on
information.
this piece. I'd be happy to talk about it. I think it's going to come back to finance. Is that right?
No.
No.
It's not. It's, all right, we've suspended the rules. Sorry, I forgot about that. It'll be one piece. I think it's a big discussion, and I would like to know more about this. I'd like to learn more about what other municipalities are going to do. I'd like to know whether or not we're going to get money from the state and how that's going to be apportioned now that the governor has signed it in, that she is going to be expending that money. Will Northampton see any of it?
I encourage you to do reading about it on the mass.gov page. There's lots of information. You can see what other communities do. They do like a tally of it every year.
Councilor Loiseau?
Sorry. I did what you did. I wanted to say I have memories of when the city did have an insurance policy, and people kind of praying for more snow so that the insurance policy would have been worth our money, and it was never really. I think ultimately it was decided that insurance is a scam, so the insurance policy wasn't worth it, and so I have a distinct memory of that over the years. And also just wanted to say that I have heard this discussion, and I do think that the city has thought about it, and this is the result of it. This is kind of the thing that makes the most financial sense. So I'm a yes for this.
Thank you. Councilor Stratton?
So Councilor Robbins has addressed some important points on this and asked some of the questions I was going to ask. From my perspective, I voted against the suspension of rules because I would have been a lot more comfortable if this order were in front of us 2 weeks ago while we were talking about the budget. I know maybe this wasn't known in February, March. It was known 2 weeks ago. We just had a budget process where the prevailing narrative was that we were out of money. And I said, no, actually, I think there's $1.3 million in free cash left, which has just been confirmed, 1.3 before this, 698 after it. It also feels a little bit like we're changing the rules based on the priority, because here is a basically recurring expense, of which I think 233 or something is personal services, which is to say salary. When it's a one priority, we're willing to spend free cash on a basically recurring operating expense. When it's another, we're not. Last night the school committee voted for something that's going to require about $140K in new staffing to supervise putting the kids' phones into those pouches. That's a hole in their budget now. There's still free cash we have. What's bothering me about this is that there were known expenses coming that weren't presented at the same time we were debating the budget. So we voted on a budget without having a true picture of the city's finances. I think I'm going to vote for this, but I'm uncomfortable with the relative timing.
Councilor Navarre?
I think I remember these meetings when there was an insurance policy and it was a huge expense, and the city deciding to save money because of climate change, because of global warming, deciding to go ahead and do this. Already, the city already sets aside $500,000 a year for this. And what happens above and beyond that is really out of our control, unless we start sucking up clouds or something. I don't know. This is, as the mayor has said, it is. Actually, Meg asked a question that I was going to ask, which is, did we know if we were going to be a recipient of a little bit of money from the state budget to be reimbursed for such a difficult winter? And hopefully that we will. But if not, I think it would be a good idea over time to, sort of be able to check out what the averages are, over time. But I think that we're in very difficult times in terms of climate right now, and it's really hard to predict. I don't think it really matters whether the money comes from free cash or the general budget. It's the money's going to come anyway, so this is going to be a yes for me.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I think Director LaScalia would like to.
So, Director LaScalia, do you want to say something, or?
Okay, hi, councilors. I just want to clarify a couple of things for you. So before we're able to close snow and ice, we actually have to work through fixing all of our equipment that has been damaged throughout the winter season. So we've actually been doing that over the last couple of months and just finished up. That's why you didn't see this order sooner. We have a lot of vehicles and specialized equipment that is used specifically for snow removal, and we have to work through the process of getting that sort of worked through so it's ready to go for next winter before this season's snow and ice closes. So that's why this order was not before you sooner than now. That's the first piece of this. The second piece of this is that expenses are obviously variable from year to year. We buy varying amounts of road salt depending on snow and ice events. So, we bought a huge amount of salt this year relative to what we bought in previous years. And we actually did a tally and worked almost 13,000 hours to control snow and ice throughout the city over the winter. So really significant level of effort that has actually exceeded anything I've seen in my tenure here. So just a lot of credit to my department, but this is the cost of it. So I think that the snow and ice budget that is submitted in the budget is sort of a starting point. And in general, it's not an inaccurate number except when there is extraordinary circumstance. The overages that you see, if you look historically, are not as significant as this one. So I think in general, $500,000 is a decent starting point. You don't want to overestimate something like this because the money has to come from somewhere else if you are going to overestimate this. So those are my comments. I hope they're helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Director LaScalia. Yeah, you have a question.
Just a question. That 13,000 hours, is that your staff, or does that include contracted workers, or is that the DPW staff?
That's just DPW staff.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anything else for the director? Okay, Councilor Robbins.
I'm sorry, Mary, one more question. I'm still stuck on why the money comes from free cash and not the general stabilization fund. Is there not the funding for that? Why the priority from free cash?
I think we generally have taken it from free cash when there's free cash available.
Could we have taken it from the general stabilization fund?
I believe I've already answered that question, which is we could,
Right.
but we've put it forward from free cash because there's free cash available.
And do you have any idea how much is in the general stabilization fund at this point?
I don't have that number with me.
Thank you.
I gave it very recently, though. You could go back and look at past meetings.
Okay, Councilor Stratton, then we were starting to have a motion on the floor here that I'd like to get to.
Yeah, so I mean, I appreciate, learning about how the equipment repairs needed to be closed out and things. I still think it would have been very useful to have an announcement that this was coming, an estimate, some idea that this was going to come, because I think that, 2 weeks ago we thought the money was all spent, and now we learn there are these other things.
Point of information, Director LaScalia said she will be back before us with an order to finish this up during the budget hearings. She said that.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
If I may get to my question, though, of the 698 free cash left, are there plans for that, or are we going to leave it in free cash such that I believe we
I don't
then
think that's-
can't
Yeah,
touch it
that's
until
not-
December? I mean, are
that's
we going
on
to put it
the
in
agenda.
stabilization?
That's not what we're agenda. We're trying to get this passed now.
A point of order. I think it's very much a part of the question because we're drawing money out of the fund, and we need to really be aware of that particular fund and what its uses are. And it's a legitimate question just to ask that. I think it's.
We need to pay this. It was explained why we need to take the money out of there. So the rest of the money that's in free cash is another conversation. Councilor Perry, you were making a motion
Yeah, I seconded that.
And then,
Yeah.
so Counselor Perry made the motion to approve, and then Counselor Dubs seconded it, and roll call, please.
Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Dubs.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Loisel.
Yeah.
Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
And Counselor Robbins.
Yes.
So we have unanimous approval. Next is 26.091, in order to authorize fiscal year 2027 intermunicipal agreements. This is the first reading. Would you?
Sure. So this is an annual order. You have this before you every year. So these are intermunicipal agreements that we have with other communities that generally we provide services for, and or also collaborations, collaborative agreements that we have with other communities. So again, this is something that you vote on every year, just to authorize these agreements. Many of them have been standing for decades and decades.
Thank you. Any questions or motions?
Motion to approve.
Oh, wait. Actually,
motion.
with the, sorry. So we need to either refer this to the finance or the consent agenda.
Make a motion to refer this to the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So Councilor Nabad made a motion to refer to consent agenda, and Councilor Davis seconded it. And then roll call, Laura, please.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Dubs.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
Yes.
And Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Next is 26.095, in order to transfer fiscal year 2027 city copier budget from central services to ITS. This is a first reading. So if we can have a motion to refer to finance or consent agenda.
Motion to refer to the consent agenda.
Motion made by Councilor Nabad, send to consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Stratton. I think we can just have a voice vote for this. Is that right? Is that these notes here?
Well, it's not an appropriation. So, yeah.
And I'm happy to speak to this quickly now if there's any
that'd be great.
questions about it, if it's going to the consent agenda.
Sure.
It's very simple. So ITS is now going to be handling all of our copier contracts. And so this is just a switch from the budget that you just approved. There is no change in the budget. There's no monetary change or amount change. This is literally just moving it from central services in their budget to the ITS budget. And this just covers the city side. ITS is working with the schools on their copy contracts, but this is just for moving the city copier contract from that one department, central services, over to ITS.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, did we have a motion? Yeah, Councilor Nabad and then Davis? Who seconded it?
Stratton.
Stratton. So, and we could just have voice vote for this one.
Could. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Okay, unanimous, 8 for approval. Yeah. So we have it, 26.081, in order accepting the provisions of MGL Chapter 40U. This is the second reading. There, I think Alan has a
Yeah.
staff, well, if you have
The
a.
Council President Maori let us know that there was a request that felt like this was a little disjointed last time. So and actually, honestly, Councilor Perry, Councilor Dubs, and Councilor Stratton, all of you have been involved in this conversation. So if I say anything wrong, please speak up. Please interrupt me. That's absolutely fine. But a quick history of how this came about and why it's here. So the challenge that we faced is that over the last several years, the City Council, the Ordinance Review Committee, some residents, some city staff have had repeated discussions about enforcement of ordinance related to sidewalks, not the actual ordinances of the sidewalks, but how we enforce it and how we actually make this stick. Because the law exists that if you don't shovel your sidewalk or you don't cut your bushes, we can fine you, and it provides for a fine. So there's been a lot of discussion asking the city to do more of that and how we go about that. Generally, the challenge has been, it's very difficult to collect those fines. And the city's goal mostly has been compliance. So we have sent folks out to ask people to shovel their walks when they don't. And that has had mixed success. And we have definitely got some feedbacks that people wanted us to try harder to use fines to get compliance. So when sidewalks are not shoveled, older adults, residents with disabilities, parents pushing strollers, school children, transit users, anyone who walks around has a harder time. And so the weakness in the current system is that if you try to enforce those fines, it goes to the courts. And that is a place where it is either asking the city to spend, and I don't know what the actual amount is, but let's just make up $500 to get the 50 of the fine if we send Alan Seawald there. He's not that expensive, but it could take some time. And also the district attorney doesn't want a bunch of these cases to come before him because it chucks the court system up, which is already pretty busy. And so 40U has existed for some time, and we were fortunate that several folks suggested this idea to us. 40U does not create any new violations. It doesn't change the parameters around which the width of the sidewalk was discussed last time. None of that is in play here. All we are doing, it doesn't increase the fines, it doesn't eliminate due process, it does not prescribe exactly how we implement a hearing process. It simply provides municipalities with a more practical way to enforce the ordinances we already have. And so basically it enables us to set up a hearing process. And we have an example of this in the city. And I don't know if it would be exactly the same as this or if we would overlay this, because I've heard from the treasurer collector that there are some nuances here. But this is a conversation we can have after we adopt 40U or not. This simply allows us to start thinking about exactly how we would implement it. But right now, for abandoned cars and parking, you can request a hearing. You don't go to the judicial process for it. You go in, and it's usually Nancy Forrestal, who in this room hears things, and people are allowed to bring lawyers with them or friends or family with them, and they present reasons why a ticket, they don't feel it was just or it's hard for them. And some of the time, there is mitigation applied to that process, which is exactly what would happen. And there's a taxi cab mitigation process that the mayor adjudicates. If someone is refused a taxi cab medallion in the city, they can ask for a hearing in front of the mayor to talk about why not. And then the city clerk brings them, right? And I think so. We've had one or two in my career with the city. But it's a way, without involving the court system, that the city can hear someone who, in the case of shoveling or removing vegetation, might say there's a mitigating circumstance why this happened. Again, all of this in service of trying to get compliance to get these things done. And then the next step that 40U allows, if we have this hearing process, is for the city to have some teeth behind its fines, which means that in a parking ticket, you get an attachment of your fine to the DMV process. But with this, it would be on your property tax process. And so if you don't pay your fine, we no longer have to send a lawyer to court and incur that cost. We would just say, we're going to add this onto your tax bill. So that is essentially the process we are adopting if you choose to do this. This is a response to multiple actors within the community, and we can talk more about how this process gets set up after we adopt the process to allow us to do that. That's all I have.
Thanks very much. That really helped clarify things. And I think it's, just being on transportation parking and hearing about these things come up, it's always an enforcement issue to find the people, to go back and see if they've complied. So this seems like a really smart and efficient way to collect the fines and save us money and time and man and women power to go around and check on things. So thanks for explaining. Any questions, or is there a motion? Councilor Dubs.
Yeah, well, I will make a motion, but first I'd just like to personally thank the Mayor Sierra and Alan Wolf and your administration for taking this swift and decisive action that I believe will be impactful. I just want to give a quick background on our snow ordinance in Northampton. It was passed into law in 1999, so it wasn't that long ago, and it was only in 1990 when ADA was passed. It was only 20 years before that, around when I was born, when disabled people were still being institutionalized. So we're still figuring out how to adjust and adapt into society, disabled people. How do we fit into society that was built before we had these rights? So this is really significant. For the last 20 or more years that I've lived here, I've been appreciative that we had this snow ordinance, but seeing how it wasn't enforced enough has been impactful on my life in a negative way, and in a lot of other people in this town. And I think that this order is proof that the mayor has been listening and has had her eye on some sort of action that we could take, some sort of policy action. And so I'm just very grateful. And I think I just want to emphasize the significance because it's been over 20 years since the city has addressed this in this way, this issue. So it's very meaningful. Yeah. And so I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Councilor Dubs and seconded by Councilor Perry. Councilor Robbins.
Thank you, Alan, for bringing that forward. I'm always wary of approving things. I think there's lots that make sense in here before there's a process. So if we're approving an ordinance that, or MGL 40U that says after we approve it, then you will come up with the process, it makes me a little bit nervous. And I'm also wondering, I think I remember Chief Cartledge saying that the police department had not been collecting fines prior to this, that there was just no record of it. There might be a nice note in the door saying shovel your snow. Has that changed?
I think in all the conversations around the ordinance review, you requested a record from the police department of how, and I think you're accurate. You're right that very few fines have been levied because of the difficulty of collecting the fine. If we levied the fine, if we put a ticket on the door, we had both an unshoveled walk and an unpaid ticket. And so the goal was to knock on the door and say, please do this, and oftentimes people will. So police's approach has been to just ask, but enough times that it hasn't happened that this came up in ordinance review, that there's more should be done. And to quote Councilor Dubs, can we just try fining more? And so then our pushback had been, fining doesn't do anything because it's not worth the paper it's printed on. This makes it worth the paper it's printed on.
So if we haven't been issuing fines, how do we know it doesn't work?
Because we have many reports from residents saying that there are unshoveled sidewalks.
So I've actually talked to a lot of people about this. It has provoked some good attention. Oh, thank heavens, somebody's finally paying attention to what's happening with shoveling sidewalks. And I heard a lot of stories from folks about they really want something that impacts the snow that has just fallen. They want to know that there is somebody, that there's a monitor for it. I have heard that you have a portal that's possibly in beta that people could report, that you can report a pothole or something like that, which I think would be very popular, would go down really well as long as it was followed up. So that there was somebody at the other end who contacted whoever had reported it and came while that snow was on the ground to say, you need to shovel the snow and you need to do what you need to do. But overall, I'm in favor of this, but I think it's premature before the process is in place to say, A, we need it if we haven't yet issued fines, but B, that we need to come up with something that treats the condition as it happens and not kind of forward think that that threat sitting there is going to keep people there. I heard stories from people that were really, I'm sure if they came to a hearing, they could talk about it. You know, I went away, I was gone for a week, I hired a firm. Mm-hmm. They only shoveled one shovelful down the sidewalk. And I was mortified, you know, when they came back, that kind of story. I heard that from a number of different people, or from wonderful people who said people in my neighborhood just couldn't get out because the snow was so bad. They just couldn't do it. And I'm hoping that as we forward think on this, we will be really addressing the key issues that keep people stuck in their houses where they can't get out on an immediate basis that's more proactive, and that it addresses issues across the city, because apparently where cities have implemented this, it's often really in the more congested areas. It's in the downtown or surrounding downtown areas, and those challenges are the same for people who live in areas that are not downtown that nobody's really paying attention to.
Okay, thank you. So we have Councillor Loisel, Davis, and then Dubs.
Thank you for that explanation, Alan. I was the one who asked for that because I was kind of confused at the end of the last meeting when it came up, so I get it now. And I want to thank you, Councillor Dubs, for your comments and the work you and Councillor Garrick and I guess Councillor Stratton did on this. At least that's what it sounded like I was hearing. What I got from this is that this is actually less punitive than the current way we do it, even though we aren't doing it because people, it's a no-win situation, because people want their things shoveled, but they also don't want police called in, and they don't want fines, and they don't, so it's a tricky thing. But this, to me, seems like a great compromise where there's a fine, it's less punitive, you don't have to go to the courthouse, and there's a way to collect the fine, which gives people incentive to do the job, and the police aren't involved. So I think it's a great idea. So thanks.
Thanks. The other thing, you're right, we are trying to land this, it's called Brightly, the app that will let you, or it's not an app, it's just a website where you can do that. The other thing is that the Key Club is trying to organize Northampton high school students and junior high school students to be a strike team to go shovel for people. Yeah. So ideally what will happen is we'll get the I need help through Brightly, and then we will try and figure out a way to let the Key Club know to go help someone. So in the scenarios you were trying to, but these are more community-based solutions that, and honestly, when we have Brightly, it will be interesting to see if we have an uptick in reporting on this. And I think we will, because it'll be suddenly very easy to do. So thank you. But the goal is to try and get people help too. At the same time as we ramp up our ability to enforce, we also want to help people who have a hard time shoveling.
Councillor Davis, thank you.
I just want to say that even though I really hear what you're saying, Councillor Robbins, about process, about being quick on the dime when the problem is happening, but I hear louder Councillor Dubs emphasizing the significance and the meaningful nature of this attempt. I hear that way louder. That's just me, and I really like the idea of a hearing and the no police involvement. They're busy with other things. So I think that this is a great attempt.
Quickly, please.
I want to make sure that you know that I am fully in support of what Councillor Dubs has brought to us.
I wasn't saying you weren't.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just heard that loud and clear.
It is loud and clear, and it's there.
With a
and
lump in my throat.
My
That's
my comments were about how to best engage that and have it happen. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Dubs, then Stratton.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly respond to Councilor Robbins, and yeah, it was completely accurate what you said, that we haven't been finding people for a few years. But that's been something that we've been talking about for the last 2 years, and I've been emphasizing that fact at meeting after meeting. And this order that we have in front of us is the mayor's response to that. So I just wanted to say that this is the response to the fact that we haven't been doing this. You know, there was the multiple department heads voiced the reasons that we haven't been finding people, and there are complications, and so this is the response to those complications, and so that's why I will be supporting it. And I just wanted to add that this isn't like the solution that's going to fix everything. I don't think that. It's just that we have to do something, and this is something. You know, and so I will be looking forward to working on other things that we can do to help with snow removal. But this is something, and it is significant, and so I'm going to support it.
Thank you. So Councilor Stratton, then Councilor Perry, and then me.
So, you know, I agree. We need to do something. I mean, I've spent time last winter walking around downtown with a snow shovel, trying to figure out what could be fixed, what couldn't, trying to understand the problem, particularly the problem how curb cuts keep getting refilled. Yes, the current ordinance says you got to clear it if you're reading it as a lawyer, but most people don't read that into it when they see it. The law is not instructive. My concern here is that we're putting the cart before the horse. We're reaching for the hammer without really figuring out how much of the problem is a nail. I would also mention that if we adopt this doesn't just apply to the snow and vegetation ordinances. It applies to municipal fines in general. So I don't really think we've thought about what box we're maybe opening there. Yes, we have not fined people. There's been a hesitance to do that. Some part of that clearly comes from the legal complexity of, you know, if the person doesn't pay up, then what do we do? I think part of it also comes from a very human desire to, you know, we want the sidewalk cleared. We don't want to just be punitive and issue a fine. So that's why I've been even, you know, back in January suggesting, hey, let's issue the fine, but let's make it easy to dismiss the fine on a first offense if you promptly correct it. So that it's not just a warning. It's you know, if you don't pay it, it was a fine. If you do pay it, it was effectively your one warning. I don't want to get this caught in an extended, you know, just we refer this and it doesn't go anywhere. And talk is cheap like that. And that's why I sat down and I put a bunch of ideas on paper as 26008, which is an ordinance to, you know, rewrite a lot of the snow ordinance, fix things that are unclear, clarify the amount of width that's actually needed. I don't think the current law meets the standards to be enforceable under 40U. Try to balance the things that actually, you know, achieve mobility versus the things that are just silly and almost in some cases superhumanly impossible work. So I want to see us do something. I want to see us do something soon. I feel like just adopting this on its own is kind of taking the easy way out and not really dealing with the problem. So I would like to see us deal with the snow ordinance itself and then add this on top of it.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Perry.
Yeah, so, all right, let's just be real. This has been an issue for a bit. The Ordinance Review Committee has hours of discussion about this. Some of you were at those meetings before you were elected as councilors. I saw Meg Robbins there at some of our meetings. Christopher, you've been there as well. Our recommendations literally state that this is something that we felt transportation and parking should take up immediately. We talked about this, Councilor Dubs and I, when we were here before you all. We've done this work. This is just a part of it. We want to give these tools to those people. Your upcoming, you know, ordinance, that's something that really should be at parking and transportation. Let us be productive. Talking about these things again here in this body, for me, feels like it disregards the work that Councilor Dubs, myself, Councilor Moulton, and the other two people who are part of this Ordinance Review Committee have done. We have done this work. We have talked about it. And I agree with you. Let's get to working on it. Let's put it there. Let's show up. You know, Councilor Stratton, show up at these parking transportations. Keep your foot on the gas. Make sure that we take these steps. But right now, we're just kind of talking in circles. This is, as Councilor Dubs said, this is in reaction to one part of it. Also, I do want to state that while it was said that they can't remember the last time there were fines, it did not. No one stated that we have never tried fining. Okay? So that is very important to understand. It was not stated. They just said, we don't remember the last time we have in our administration. We also stated in our Ordinance Review Committee that there should be more logs. You know, again, we are talking about things that we've discussed before. So let's move this forward so we can have these discussions in a place that we can actually get to doing the work. That's where I'm standing. And that's why, I'm feeling like we should just call to order. Like we've talked about this whole thing for a bit, so I'm going to call to question.
Okay, so Councilor Perry called the question, so just roll call now, right?
Yep.
So roll call, please, Laura.
Are we taking a vote on calling the question, whether we want to call the question, or on the motion on the floor?
Do we need to take a vote on calling the question? Yeah. Okay, so let's take a vote on calling the question then.
You're wild now, you do.
Okay. Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori. Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Have to abstain as well, thank you.
Councilor Stratton.
No.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
And Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have 6 yeses, 2 abstentions, and 1 no. So it passes. So now we go and, so do we have to make a motion to, if it's a positive or negative, or just,
There's already a motion to approve.
it was? Okay, I kind of lost track. Okay, so let's just, now we're just voting on a motion to approve.
Okay. Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Maori. Motion to approve?
Yeah, the provision 40U.
Can you just remind me where you are?
We're at 40U, about the snow removal fines.
10A.
10A, yes. Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Abstain.
Councilor Stratton.
No.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
And Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Okay,
So we have 7 yeses, 1 abstention, and 1 no vote?
that's correct.
Okay, so that passed. We're done with this, so.
I have a comment to make, I didn't get to make because it was called a question.
Yeah, discussion's over, moving on.
Can I request a recess?
Yeah, recess for, it's 8:31, we'll come back at 8:40.
So we're through the
Okay. Okay, welcome back to the Northampton City Council. And we are on to, I believe we're on to orders. 10, right? 10A.
No, 10B.
Oh, I'm sorry, 10B. 26.086, an order to approve a conservation restriction in the Mineral Hills on first reading. And yes, would the mayor's office like to speak to this? It's in first reading. There's no vote tonight.
Is Sarah Lavalley here?
Oh, right, Sarah. Let's see. There she is. I see her. Hi, Sarah.
Hello. Synopsis on this one. Council had approved the purchase and related conservation restriction of the Mineral Hill South Crescione property, which we just recently closed on back in 2025. Because this is a conservation restriction that will be held by a third party, in this case, the Kestrel Land Trust, EEA's Environmental Agency of the State's interpretation is that council needs to make a totally separate vote to approve the document itself, and that approval cannot take place until after the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs has approved the document, which you've seen in your council materials. So it's approving something that you've already approved, essentially. We're really excited to be able to preserve this property. It's a great opportunity for the city. Kestrel is excited about it, and we hope that you'll reaffirm this conservation restriction.
Okay.
Move to approve?
No,
Can't do that.
Oh. Yeah, so we can ask, I would, no, that's okay. If we have questions for Sarah about any follow-up questions, then this will just appear on our next agenda. But if counselors, while we have Sarah here, if you have any inquiries, it would be good to make them now. Okay. Oh, yes, Counselor Stratton.
I just want to make a quick comment that the mountain laurel happens to be in bloom right now. It's really beautiful, but it's already starting to fade. So go out there, go to the entrance on Drury Lane and go in. Go up the old path, the steep path up the hill, or the new path right after the fence to the right across the field, and go check it out. It probably won't be like that again after a week until next summer.
Thank you. That sounds beautiful. Okay. So, yes, so that will appear on July 15th. And we are up to ordinances not yet referred. We have 26.083, an ordinance relative to parking on Elm Street. 26.084, an ordinance relative to no parking at certain times on Elm Street, again in first reading. 26.085, an ordinance relative to bus stop locations. And 26.088, an ordinance to clarify sidewalk snow removal requirements in first reading. So let's start with an ordinance relative to parking on Elm Street.
I move to approve to send to legislative matters.
Yeah, thank you. So motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion to refer, second by Councillor Dubs to refer. And yeah. Sure, yes, you could group those. I didn't want to group yours because I wanted you to speak to it, but yeah. Well, except now we have a motion on we'd have to withdraw that motion. Is that?
Yeah,
okay.
Withdraw the motion.
Yeah, or no, we could, let's withdraw. If there's no objection, then we will withdraw Councilor Clemmer's motion, and we will, Councilor Stratton just made a motion to send A through C to legislative matters. So that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Clemmer. Okay, any discussion before we vote to refer?
Just a process question.
Yeah.
So who, so these go to legislative matters. Does somebody speak to them at legislative matters?
Yes, right. Well, yes, we'll have
Okay.
to, yeah.
Okay,
Get
great.
someone to speak to them, right.
I have a question too.
Yeah.
Why would we refer this to legislative matters as opposed to transportation and parking?
Well, we can refer it to more than one place. It legally has to go to, this is the only kind of thing that legally has to go to legislative matters. That's why I always kind of, note that we don't have a lot of choice in the matter. But you could refer it to another. Often we'll go to one place and then it'll go, yes, Councilor.
I just want to observe these come recommended to us by transportation and parking.
Yeah, yep, so,
Okay.
yeah, right, so in this case.
Keith on the.
Oh, Keith, yeah, thank you. Yeah, Keith. Hi, good evening.
Thank you. Councilor Stratton hit it on the head. This was referred to TPC. I did present to them. And as a matter, A, B, and C are just kind of all together. So they are talking about the same location. But I will be at legislative matters to discuss them and answer any questions.
Excellent. Thanks, Keith.
Another process question, though. So we can discuss it at legislative matters, ask questions, but then what if other councilors have questions?
It comes back.
So
I know it comes back here, but so then he has to come back to a third meeting?
Yeah, this is what we've kind of discussed before, and it would be good to choose a substantive conversation, either the first or the second one. So if folks have questions for Keith while he's here, certainly, especially people not on legislative matters, it'd be great to take advantage of Keith being here. Yes, Councilor Perry, and then Councilor Nabad.
I was going to say, it is at the discretion of the chair. So, at some meetings, if there are people from who aren't part of the body, you can see if they want to ask questions who are there. So it's up to the councilors to join as well.
Okay, so I'm just trying to clarify with Keith Benoit, he's here now, and he's going to come to the legislative matters, and then maybe he doesn't need to come to the next city council meeting.
That's the hope if we've, asked questions, and if councilors have questions after this, then we can maybe get them answered, and if councilors don't, then often we don't have a staff member return.
Okay, thanks.
But they usually, will be willing to. But yes, it would be nice for staff if we.
Well, we have legislative matters on June 29th. Everybody's welcome. So
great, thank you. Yeah, and just it's true, Councilor Nabad, that you can refer to either you could either sequentially or do joint subcommittees in general. Yeah, this one already went there, but you can do that. So you're correct. Okay, so yes, anyone else? And we have three here. Councilor Stratton. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I think I skipped you. Did I skip you?
No, that's okay. I just wanted to ask Keith, or just in general, I think the bus stop ordinance is the work that Councilor Moulton and Councilor Jarrett did, straightening out the bus stop situation and getting everything organized. Is that what this is?
Yes, I worked with Councilor Jarrett on that last year, and so the C-26085, that is a document you've seen most of this body. Some of you did not see it the last time, but we are just bringing it back again because there was just some errors in there. Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd sort of just been wondering if we could get the 30-second summary of what's going on. It looks like, there's a long list of bus stops, a few changed, and one requires a parking change to fit it in. This is the kind of case where it would be great to have, what changed from the old to the new. I mean, I almost thought about running this through software developer tools that do that just because it's such a long list, but I meant to do that and I didn't.
Yes, so the first two, A and B, are, there's two parts of this. One is to amend the bus stop, the actual bus stop on Elm Street, south of Harrison. So that would means we are changing the legal parking. So the parking on Elm Street, and then the no parking at certain times. So physically, we are proposing to change the parking. So there'll be a removal of parking because we're going to be installing a bus stop. So the bus stop is physically going to take up where that parking is. The third one, that big list, one line of that will be amending that one bus stop on Elm Street to change the bus stop physically. The rest of that big list is us verifying the bus stops that already existed, that PVTA operated. So last year, as Councilor Nabad talked about, me and Councilor Jarrett went and we verified all of the 84 bus stops we have in the city that PVT operates. But at that time, there was only 6 that were in the ordinance. So for us to legally kind of enforce no parking at the bus stop, we have to define what those bus stops are. So nothing changed physically with all those. We just kind of cleaned up the language, added the PVTA reference number. So if you call up PVTA and say, bus stop 225, they know exactly what it is. But at least here, we kind of combined them so we know physically this is at the intersection of such and such. But we can also communicate to PVTA with just, hey, stop 225. Part of that too is just making the references easy. So instead of 1,000 feet from Main Street, it might be just 100 feet in the other direction. So just kind of cleaning that up and making the enforceability a little easier and be able to find it. So this C-26085, the big list, that did go in front of this body previously. It was approved, but unfortunately the most updated version was not shared with the council. And so while we're already bringing in this other amendment, might as well bring it together so you're all seeing the full picture and so you can see it. So it's mostly administrative, us trying to define what is out there. You know, this is not looking at accessibility or the infrastructure or any of the physical kind of dimensions. I did a few full ADA accessibility audits on a few of these, and they're very time consuming. And so just 84 of them kind of dispersed throughout the city, and that's not part of kind of what we're doing. But the new bus stop on Elm Street, we do have money to make it fully accessible. It's going to be right at the curb, and I think we're proposing also to put in a bus, the structure there. So.
Yes, Councilor Nabad.
Okay, and then Keith, I do have a question about the bus stop, the new bus stop across from Bridge Road at the new affordable housing community. That is where people are getting dropped off, but it's a really unsafe intersection, and so I wondered if you could talk about that.
Yes, I walked that, doing the measurements, and it is indeed not particularly good, especially the northbound. So the opposite side of the Prospect Place there. This ordinance is not looking at that. For locations that wasn't really clear because we didn't have it in the ordinance, we did work with PVDA to kind of find the best option to clarify if it's past a intersection or not. And that one, you know, there's not a good space for it. We don't have like a sidewalk on this. So recognize that it's not the safest and that there's high traffic and people speed through there. But this ordinance is not kind of proposing any safety upgrades or anything like that. You know, bus stops are to make a fully accessible bus stop, to have a sidewalk. You know, we're talking, you know, between 10 and 20, we need it designed. So, you know, it's several $1,000s. And, you know, there's just not a good funding stream for that. But what we can do, we will do. Yeah, I can't say too much because this ordinance is not looking at any type of physical upgrades.
Councillor Stratton.
Yeah, I would just like to observe that Councillor Namad has made a very important point. I remember hearing about this in the past. I'm just looking at pictures of it right now. And, you know, it's not just the bus stop problem there. It's also that little section of Hatfield Street that dips. You know, people go shopping at Walmart and Big Y, and they come back with their shopping cart and their kids on that road. And I'd like to see us figure out how to talk about this in the future. Obviously, tonight is not when we're going to solve this, but we should kind of like note to selves, come back to this.
Yeah, I've gotten those emails. It abuts my ward. So I'm just wondering. So the remind me, are these the spots that were in front of Tandem on North Main? No, that we got rid of for that bus stop. Remember we moved. The bus stop got moved kind of near Florence, the back of Florence Hardware, and. It's okay. I can go look at a map. But I was just curious if those were the ones that were removed in this.
So the Florence Hardware, so the past Tandem. So
Yeah.
this, the ordinance, the bus stop ordinance as it sits, it does have what was previously the bus stop was right in front of Tandem Bagel. And so the bus would have to stop, double park at the intersection. Obviously, that's not safe for anyone. And so we proposed, and this ordinance has the bus stop kind of past that building, next building, kind of where there's a break and no
Yeah.
parking before the intersection there left to go to the Lilly Library.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Any other questions about any of these three before we move on? Wait. So we have a motion. Yeah. So anything before we do a vote? Okay. I guess we can vote to refer.
Councillor Maori.
Yes.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Dubbs.
Yes.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
And Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Okay. Those will go on to legislative matters. And now we have 26.088, an ordinance to clarify sidewalk snow removal requirements. Councillor Stratton, would you like to read it, or certainly we'll start with you and anything you want to say about it or read it? Or
I mean, I think tonight's probably not the night to get into, going through the whole language. The preamble is very long. I tried to explore some of the issues, some of the balance of concerns, some of why maybe the current ordinance and just enforcing it more heavily isn't going to be the solution by itself, and really use that language to make the case for some of the ideas I set out later. Yes, we've talked about, this topic a lot. What I haven't seen is a specific list of proposals other than the enforce harder part, which I might have been willing to vote for after having this discussion. This wasn't meant to be necessarily the version that would become law. This was meant to put some ideas on paper for, my fellow councilors to talk about, quite probably for transportation and parking to talk about. I'd love to hear what various members of the Disability Commission and, of course, members of the public say about this. These were meant to be ideas, not dictates. One of the things I believe very strongly is that the law should be instructive. The law is a balance of what neighbors expect from neighbors. It sets the expectations. And, there are things in our snow ordinance like the obligation to refill a curb cut after it's been cleared, not just by the plow, but just by traffic going by, pushing that snow back into it. I mean, days later, a sidewalk that was wheelchair accessible ceases to be. That's a real problem. So I've tried to dig into some of those areas where, maybe if a lawyer reads the snow ordinance, they come to the conclusion of what's needed, but to try to really clarify the public expectation and, yes, discuss what the balance of, what actually enables accessibility versus what is just asking someone to do extra work. Obviously, we're not going to debate this or vote on it as a measure tonight. But I wanted to put some ideas out there and, see what the broader reaction is.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. So your vision is to refer to
Well, legally, it would have to go to legislative matters to move forward.
Right.
I understand that the matter itself is already before Transportation and Parking, although without this document as a possible reference for that. I kind of surprised nobody's really commented on it to me yet in email or anything. So.
Okay. Yeah, maybe once it goes to the subcommittees. Counselor Dubs and Counselor Perry.
Thank you. I think that this is pretty obviously written by one person who didn't consult with anybody before they wrote it. I would like to comment on the whereas where it says, it's widely understood that a 36-inch clear path is sufficient for wheelchair travel. Yeah, 36 inches is the minimum. That's right, Chris. But Northampton goes for the full width because that is more accessible. To go backwards and make it 36 inches is going backwards in accessibility. And if this were to become law, I would go in the streets and protest against it. That's how against this I am.
Counselor Perry and Counselor Stratton.
Well, I think Counselor Dubs kind of addressed what I was going to bring up, is that I am not here to bemoan anyone taking initiative. I see the intent there, but when I see something that comes before us that is going to go to legislative matters that has not been discussed with anyone else, I am very hesitant. I think that it could have been discussed with people on Parking and Transportation, Disability Commission before it got here, so that we don't have situations like this. I mean, it feels to me that you are very much, and I think we all are, but you particularly, Councilor Stratton, you're passionate about this. And I would hope that before we move this forward in this body, that you would take that passion and go to some other bodies and even just talk about language with some people. Someone from the Disability Commission could have helped a lot. So I am in the same space that I don't think this is ready for us at all.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Stratton.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but the reason I wrote this quickly is because 40U was on our agenda for a vote tonight, and I really wanted us to look at these topics before we voted on that. I was really hoping that they would end up before committee together. Obviously, that did not happen. I might have been willing to vote for 40U after working through these things. I was not willing to vote for it before doing so. So that's why I, just sat down and marathon rushed this out by myself to get the matter itself before the council, as I tried to do more generically 2 weeks ago. In terms of the 36 inches, we're not getting 36 inches today. I mean, that's inspired by things like when I was waiting for Councilor Dubs, a young woman came out in a wheelchair, a manual wheelchair, and she couldn't roll down the sidewalk because she couldn't get her hands on the outer hand wheels. Fortunately, there was just enough space that her friend could push her, and they scraped snow off the side. People, they think I shoveled one shovel width and I'm good. So is 36 inches a decrease of the technical requirement of the law? In some cases, yes, but it's an increase over what we're actually getting, and it's an increase guided by Massachusetts Accessibility Board standards, which say that 36 inches clear path. However, after 200 feet, you need a turning area or a passing area of at least 500 feet. I think in most cases, a driveway would satisfy that, but if we want to add that to the law too, that after 200 feet, it needs to expand to 500 feet, that's fine. 36 inches is well more than we're getting today. It meets the needs, and it's more humanly possible than saying that you have to move all that snow and ice that was plowed from the road onto the curb. You have to manually move that from one side of the snow sidewalk to the other. Now, I've gone in Florence Center and done that myself to clear the bus stop, and just getting 4 feet of curb clear by moving that whole plow pile manually, that was quite a task, but I did it several times last winter. This tries to adjust that. Do I think that my 5 feet before the bus sign is a little bit silly? No. Yes, I put it in there as a placeholder to address the issue. So I'm trying to call attention to the places where the wording of our snow ordinance is non-instructive, does not achieve wheelchair passable sidewalks, and does not do the job it needs to do.
Okay, Counselor Perry?
So again, I'm not bemoaning you for the intent behind it. I do want to remind you that you are one person, and the suggestion is by discussing these things with other people who have different perspectives, perhaps you can come upon something that works more broadly and generally. You don't have to be right all the time, and you do not have to do everything by yourself.
You just shut down discussion by calling the question on the previous item. So
Okay, let's take turns. Yep. So, okay, I'm going to go to Councilor Dubs. I do want to this certainly can go to legislative matters. You also, as the sponsor, could find another course if you'd like, so you can think about that. We can take, we could, if you would like to workshop it in other, informally or informally in other committees before it goes to legislative matters, you can let us know. But let me go to Councilor Dubs, and then I'll come back to you.
Thanks. First, I think that I've heard you twice now refer to shoveling more than 36 inches with, I've heard you refer to it as extra work, and I've heard you refer to it as silly work. And I just want to say that that's highly offensive to not just me, but to many people in this city. And yeah, you're right. Sometimes we don't get the 36 inches width on the sidewalks. And I'm the person that gets stuck on those sidewalks, not you. I'm the person who is sat in the freezing cold at nighttime waiting for someone to walk by to help me out of the snow. That hasn't happened to you, Councilor Stratton. And no, I'm not asking you to interject. I'm talking.
2 years ago,
I'm
you shoveled
talking.
out that curb cut. I went
We are
to your
not
house
doing a
and
back
shoveled
and
out
forth. We
your
are not
curb
doing
cut
a
2
back
years
and
ago.
forth. We are not doing a back and forth. Councilor Nabad, and then Councilor Clemmer.
Well, I just want to say that I keep seeing new city councilors bringing things to council. And instead of trying to work with the greater community, work with different committees, trying to get support behind these things. And, I will just give as an example the rodenticide ordinance that has been taking us 6 months right now to work on. It's not a fast process. We don't jam these things in to try to get something to not happen. We go through a process, and if you heard my announcement tonight about the cancellation, I mean, that's another little setback, but that's how it is. And I just want to say, it's really a shame to me what's happening on this council in regards to the no votes all the time, voting against everything, voting against just these protest votes, these protest things that are obstructing the functioning of our city government, and really offensive and ableist, and it's highly problematic, highly problematic. And I just want to express my disappointment tonight in that this even got on the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Councilor, and Councilor Clemmer, or Vice President.
There's no time constraint anymore, so there's plenty of time to rework this. And you said nobody contacted you. We're surprised nobody contacted you about this. I ask you questions, you don't answer them when I email you. As a new counselor, my first
Point of order.
Yeah, yes, what's your point of order?
The public is not bound by open meeting law. Councilors are.
When I ask you a question, that's not open meeting law.
I told you that I thought it was a topic for a council meeting.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue with you. But that's why people don't contact you, because of this kind of stuff.
Councilor?
There's no time constraint. The other thing passed. You can take this back, rework it. I've never worked on a resolution. I've worked on 13 or 14 with other counselors and senior counselors, my first term. I mean, everybody was senior counselor pretty much, but and when Counselor Jared and I, we did a resolution about the rail trail, and we were saying that it was accessible, and, I looked up what accessible means, and then I was talking to Alex about it, and we said, let's ask Jeremy. I mean, he knows better than any of us, so we ran it by you, and we brought you onto the resolution, and you gave it your blessing, and, you're here for everybody to ask questions, and you've been very generous with sharing your life experiences and what you go through daily. And I don't know why people, assume they know what life is like in a wheelchair and, read a book or Google it and don't ask you, who's really living it. I think this is not, I think this needs some reworking, and, I think maybe just take it back and not bring it to legislative matters, because I won't approve referring it.
That's not your call.
Okay, well, I'm just saying it, so it's my call.
Councilor Stratton.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I actually did suggest we ask the Disability Commission what width of clearing was needed, and Councilor Dubs said, well, that's a standard, look it up. So I did. Anyway, I'm going to move to refer this to Legislative Matters, the Disability Commission, and Transportation and Parking.
Councilor Dubs.
I'd just like to add that 36 inches is a minimum, and many other cities in America they require more than 36 inches, including Boston, which requires 42 inches. So this idea that this is just number 36, it fits all. It's just not true. Disabled people are different sizes, different shapes. We are all different, and having more than 36 inches is extremely helpful, because you just don't know exactly who's going to be trying to use the sidewalks. So we need the full width, which is what the snow ordinance says. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Stratton.
Well, last winter, Councilor Dubs and I were actually walking down a sidewalk, and I said, is that wide enough? I'm not sure it is. And he said, oh, yes, I can get down that.
Okay.
What are you trying to say? Sometimes yes, sometimes it's wide enough, sometimes it's not. What are you trying to say,
Councilors.
Chris?
Okay.
Keep rolling your eyes at me.
Okay.
That's fine.
Can I make
Trying to get
a
things better
suggestion?
than they currently are.
You're doing a terrible job.
Okay. We're going to stop this now, because what I'm observing is that tensions are running high, and we are almost done here. And I think that if we want to have, my suggestion is that we don't continue this now when we're not really feeling regulated. So there's a motion on the floor. Was there a second? Oh, there was. Well, no, Chris. Right, there wasn't a second. I'm sorry. There wasn't a second. Okay. Okay. So I believe it still is required to go to legislative matters unless, right? Or, yes. Yes.
Can I make a motion to take it off the agenda?
No. Take it off the agenda? It's on the agenda.
Yeah, but just to not have it on the agenda? To not vote on it, because...
hold on just a sec. Let me just think.
Okay. To legislative matters, it doesn't proceed in the legislative process, I believe.
Okay, so we would need a second. If it goes anywhere, it has to go to legislative matters, but it needs a second to continue. Okay, got it. Thank you. So is there a motion?
There's no motion now, it didn't pass.
Okay.
There was no second.
Okay. So we're on to new business then. Any new business? Okay.
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Jeremy can have it. Jeremy could have the second.
Okay. Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Councilor Stratton. Yes. Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Dubs.
Yes.
Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
And Councilor Maori.
Yes. All right. Good evening.